Hello students, I hope all of you are doing great, and now we are going to start the fifth lecture of our chapter, that is coal and petroleum. Now in this lecture we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, and the topic is petrochemicals. Now what are petrochemicals? These are the substances that are obtained from petroleum and natural gas. The substances and the important and useful substances that are obtained from petroleum and natural gas are called as petrochemicals. That means the chemicals that are obtained from petroleum and natural gas. So we can write it as here as the useful substances. The useful substances which are obtained from petroleum, which are obtained from petroleum and natural gas. The useful substances that are obtained from petroleum and natural gas are called as petrochemicals. Are called petrochemicals. And the petrochemicals provide the raw material for the preparation of a large variety of substances. Petrochemicals are the raw materials. These are raw material for a wide variety of substances. So the petrochemicals provide the raw material for a large variety of substances and for the preparation of a large variety of substances. It is the raw material for the preparation of large variety of substances. It provides a raw material for the preparation of large variety of substances, and these large variety of substances, they are used for making for making synthetic fibers. They are used for making synthetic fibers, synthetic rubber, plastic, perfumes, fertilizers. So these are the materials that are being produced from petrochemicals. Explosives, varnishes, dyes and drugs. So these a lot of material are produced from petrochemicals as a raw material. A lot of materials are produced from petrochemicals as a raw material, and I hope this is clear to all of you that the useful substance which are obtained from petroleum and natural gas, all the useful materials, petrol, diesel, we have obtained CNG from natural gas, and all the materials, paraffin wax, those are recognized and those are called as petrochemicals. Now the next topic that we are going to look at is consequences of overuse of coal and petroleum. Now, what are the consequences if we overuse the coal and petroleum? Now, as of now, we all know that coal and petroleum are the exhaustible natural resources and the exhaustible energy sources. So, we all, if we use them, overuse them, then they would be exhausted. We know till now that both coal and petroleum Both coal and petroleum are exhaustible sources of energy. They are exhaustible sources of energy, and the very first consequence of overuse or extra use of coal and petroleum is that the natural deposits of coal and petroleum, the natural deposits of coal and petroleum, we all know that there are natural deposits and the minings of there are the mine of coal and petroleum, and on over extraction they will get exhausted, and if we over extract them on over extraction they will get exhausted, and the rate at which we are using these resources, we are using coal and petroleum every day in our daily life, and they are not in a unlimited quantity, so we have to take care of them, and we are we all know that the rate at which we are using that at a very high rate, so the rate at which we are using these resources, the rate at which we are using these resources, the stock of coal and petroleum can last only about 20 to 30 years. So the stock of coal and petroleum, the stock of coal and petroleum will only last will only last up to 20 to 30 years. That means our future generation will not be able to use coal and petroleum as a source of energy, and they have to generate and they have to discover some new source of energy. And the next consequence of overuse of coal and petroleum is that import of coal and petroleum will increase. That means we have to import these substances from other countries, and that is very and the price of coal and petroleum will increase in the importation of coal and petroleum. So import of coal and petroleum will increase. The import of coal and petroleum will increase. Now we are going to discuss some other consequences of coal and petroleum also, that there will be severe drain of foreign exchange reserve. The third point on the consequences of coal and petroleum is that there will be severe drain on the foreign exchange reserve. There will be severe drain on the foreign exchange reserve. To meet the cost of importing petroleum. So we are importing the petroleum, so there will be a severe drain in the foreign exchange reserve we have. So reserve to meet the cost of importing petroleum. To meet the cost of importing petroleum. Now the next consequence that we are going to look at is the petroleum products will become costly as there is a severe drain in the foreign exchange. Then the petroleum products will automatically become costly. We all know that how petrol prices increase. So the petroleum products will become costly. The petroleum products will become costly and may even go beyond the reach, and they may even go beyond the reach of an ordinary person. That means a middle class person cannot afford petrol, and the prices will be that hiked up and may even go beyond the reach of an ordinary person. That means normal people won't be able to afford petrol and petroleum products, that are petrol, diesel, paraffin wax, and etc. Now we are going to look at some other consequences also, and the next consequence we are going to look at is that as the petrol price will increase, the prices of all commodities will also increase. We have listened about inflation. So the inflation causes because there is an increase in the petrol prices and petroleum products. As the petroleum products prices are costly, then the prices of all the commodities will be costly. So the fifth is that prices of all commodities, prices of all the commodities will increase, which will cause inflation, which will cause inflation. That is going to cause inflation. That means that all the all the goods and services will be at more price, and no matter how much anybody earns, how much any individual earns, he can't beat up the inflation. Now the next topic that we are going to look at is global warming. Of course, if we overuse the petroleum products and if we overuse the coal and petroleum, the major cause is on our environment, and the major consequence that is going to happen is on environment in the form of global warming. In the form of global warming, and through global warming, the glaciers are also melting. And we all know that if we burn fossil fuels, so the burning of fossil fuels Burning of fossil fuels released considerable amount of gaseous pollutants. They release considerable amount They release considerable amount of gaseous pollutants in the atmosphere. Gaseous pollutants in the atmosphere. We all know that the burning of fossil fuels release many gaseous pollutants and many unwanted gases in the atmosphere. Now the burning of fossil fuel is adding excessive amount of carbon dioxide. The main gas the burning of fossil fuel is adding is carbon dioxide. So burning of fossil fuel is adding burning of fossil fuel is adding excessive amount of carbon dioxide is adding they are adding excessive amount of carbon dioxide excessive amount of carbon dioxide is the main constituent that causes the air pollution is the main excessive amount of carbon dioxide in the air and that leads to the greenhouse effect and leading to greenhouse effect and which can cause global warming later. Leading to greenhouse effect, we have already studied about greenhouse effect. Leading to greenhouse effect and causes global warming. And it causes global warming. So the very main effect and the very main consequence of the overuse of coal and petroleum is on the environment and that causes global warming. And with global warming, the glaciers will melt and it will have many other consequences on the human and other living organisms life also. Now the next topic that we are going to discuss about is conservation of fossil fuels. Now how can we conserve the fossil fuels and what is conservation? In the first case, what is conservation? Conservation is only the wise and judicious use that we use fossil fuels very wisely. That means the wise and judicious use of fossil fuels. The wise and judicious use of fossil fuels is called conservation of fossil fuels. Is called conservation of fossil fuels. This is called as conservation of fossil fuels. And we can do it by various methods and various measures. We can do it by adopting various measures and the very first measure we can adopt is that we do not waste or misuse any fossil fuel. If it is not in our use and if we should not waste any fossil fuel and not only fossil fuel we should not waste any natural resource that is available to us. So do not waste or misuse do not waste or misuse fossil fuels. Now the next is that we can use these fuels only when they are absolutely necessary. That means if we have an option that we can use the public transport system, then we should use the public transport system instead of the private transport. So use these fuels. We can use these fuels Only when they are absolutely necessary. Only when absolutely necessary. That means that is use of public transport instead of private transportation. Instead of private transportation. So that is use of, we can use public transport instead of private transportation, and that will save a lot of coal and that will save a lot of petroleum products on its own only. If everybody is going to start the maximum public transport on their own, then there will be a lot of petrol and there will be a lot of savings of petrol and diesel on its own. Now the next measures that we can adopt for the fossil fuel is that we can manage these fossil fuels properly. There should be a management system for the fossil fuels, and we can manage these fossil fuels. We can manage these fossil fuels properly so that they can be used for a longer period of time. If we are going to use them in a managed way, that in that way they can be used for a longer period of time, and that will be available for our future generations also. So that they can be used for a longer period of time. They can be used for a longer period of time. And the fourth measure that we can take is that we can adopt and use alternative or renewable sources of energy. We don't have to use these fuels, and we can adopt and take use of other alternative sources. So we can adopt and use alternative or renewable sources of energy. Alternative or renewable sources of energy. Alternative or renewable sources of energy, such as we can use solar energy as a fuel with the various techniques and various technologies. We can use solar energy, we can use wind energy, or we can use biomass energy also. Or we can use biomass energy also instead of coal and petroleum. And also, it is better to use biogas. It is better to use biogas as a domestic fuel. It is better to use biogas as a domestic fuel than the fossil fuels. Than the fossil fuels. I hope this is clear to all of you that we have discussed about the conservation of fossil fuels. Now, in fossil fuels also, the very two main fossil fuels, the very main petroleum products are petrol and diesel, and we have to look at their conservation also. So the next topic we are going to talk about is the conservation of petrol and diesel. So how can we conserve petrol and diesel? And the various, there are organization and association made for the conservation of petrol and diesel, and in India the association is called as Petroleum Conservation Research Association. In India the association is named as Petroleum Association is known as Petroleum Conservation Research Association. Research Association. In short, it can be called it as PCRA, and this association gives some tips to save petrol and diesel while driving. This association gives us some tips to save petrol and diesel while driving. To save petrol and diesel while driving, and the various tips the association gave is, the very first tip is that drive at a constant and moderate speed as far as possible. We should drive at a constant and moderate speed. That means we should not fluctuate our speed very now and then. So we should drive at a constant and moderate speed. We should drive at a constant and moderate speed. That means a speed of 45 to 50 kilometer per hour. We should drive at a speed of 45 to 50 kilometer per hour, and this speed is said to be, and if we drive at the 45 to 50 kilometer per hour, it is said to give better result per liter of fuel. And this speed gives us better result. That means our whole fuel is used very authentically, and we use the fuel very properly, gives us better results per liter of fuel. And very low and very high speed uses more fuel. If we are driving at a very low speed and if we are driving at a very high speed also, then it uses more fuel. So very low, we should not drive at a very low or very high speed. We should not drive at a very low or very high speed, because it will just use more fuel, and it uses more fuel. So we should drive at a constant speed of 45 to 50 kilometer per hour. And the next measure we can take is that we should periodically check air pressure in the tires. In the tires, we should periodically check the air pressure. Periodically check air pressure in the tires So what happens if we check the air pressure in the tires? That is, the correct tire pressure will save fuel, because if there is a correct tire pressure, and that is not more, not less, a correct tire pressure, will save you more fuel, will save more fuel. And the third is that we should switch off the engine. We should switch off the engine. That means if we are waiting for anybody, and if we are waiting in the traffic also, we should switch off the engine. That is going to save you fuel also. We should switch off the engine while waiting for somebody, or either if we are waiting in the traffic also, or at traffic lights, and this will going to save you fuel also. Now the next is there is also a method and a measure that we can save more petrol and diesel. That is, we should ensure the regular maintenance of our vehicle. If our vehicle is not maintained regularly, then it will obviously absorb more fuel, and it will use more fuel. So we should ensure the regular maintenance we should ensure the regular maintenance of the vehicle. Either we are driving a four Either we are driving a two-wheeler, or either we are driving a four-wheeler, we should regularly ensure the maintenance. We should regularly ensure the maintenance from company-owned workshops, or from any local workshops also. From company-owned workshops. From company-owned workshops, to save you more fuel. To save you more fuel. Now, with this, I hope we understand that how coal and petrol and diesel products are very important for us. And with this, we are going to end the lecture here only. And thank you, everyone.